Are you ready to take your fashion illustration skills to the next level? Then join me for this demonstration on how to make a fashion illustration croquis. A croquis is what we use as a base for drawing fashion illustrations. And in this video, we're going to be creating that fashion illustration croquis from a standard croquis. Make sure you download the standard croquis through the link in the description below. This croquis is the same exact one that you'll find in the fashion design book, but it'll just make it easier to have that PDF printed out. You'll notice that there is a standard croquis and a curvy plus size croquis. That's because there are two versions of the fashion design book, a standard and a curvy, so you can print out whichever one you want to use. So specifically, the croquis that's found in the fashion design book is a 7.5 head croquis used for flat garment sketches. We are going to be turning it into a fashion illustration croquis, which is between 9 to 10 heads tall. It also has some sort of pose or movement depicted in the croquis. For this example, we are going to do a walking movement, and you can implement the same exact procedure whether you're using the standard or the curvy. So this is an image of what we're going to be sketching. It's a 9-head walking croquis used for fashion illustration, and the width of the croquis is based on that original 7.5 head croquis. Now, if you really want to exaggerate this to make it a really tall, skinny croquis, you're more than welcome to reduce the width as we go along in this tutorial. Now let's go ahead and jump right into this step-by-step guide, and we'll do this process together. For this tutorial, we are going to go from a flat croquis used for flat garment sketches, and we're going to change it to a fashion illustration croquis. You can also download these croquis through the link in the description below. I highly recommend that you do that for this tutorial. You're also going to need either tracing paper or standard paper because we're going to be tracing, and you'll also want a pencil and eraser to get ready to start drawing. The proportions of a fashion illustration is very elongated, which means we're going to be stretching out the body, but we're not going to be stretching out everything proportionally. Primarily, we're going to be stretching out the legs more than anything else. So the first thing to do in this process is to mark our head heights that we want to achieve. And for this, I'm going to go to a 9-head croquis. When I say a 9-head croquis, that means we're going to keep the same exact head height, and we're going to be doing 9 of them. So the entire body is going to be 9 heads tall based on this head height. So I am folding that tracing paper in half, and I also want to mark my center line down this croquis. So using my ruler, I'm going to find the center. It's usually the easiest right at the rise area there and between the legs, and check that to see if that's looking good to you. I am going to be using my weights here, and I'm aligning the center fold line to the center line underneath. Now I want to go ahead and mark my head height lines as a reference. You don't have to actually draw the heads here. And I'm going to continue drawing additional lines, 2 more head heights. So that's my number 8 here and my number 9. So I need to measure the height and go down that same height for the last one. So now I am at 1, 2, 3. So we'll start first with the head, and we're going to trace that head exactly as it is. And we're going to add a pose to her. So this flat sketch is pretty symmetrical, and that's most common in flat sketches, that they are symmetrical, that they don't have much movement to them, versus a fashion illustration has a lot more movement. And when we think of the body moving, we are thinking of the upper portion moving one way and the lower portion moving the other way. So we're going to be placing different emphasis on one side versus the other side. So if the shoulder is up on one side, that means the hip would be lower on that side, and vice versa. And I'm going to be giving her a slight angle. I'm using my grid ruler. If you don't have a grid ruler, you can also measure up a slight bit. Let's say we're going to go up 1/4 of an inch, which is 6 millimeters from that. And I'm going to go up to this line over here. I'm going through kind of the low point shoulder area here, and I want to mimic that same angle with the hip. So for this one, we have to move that hip position down because we're elongating the figure. So in drawing that hip, we are actually going to slide up our tracing paper until the crotch point meets the 4th line here. From there, we're going to draw a nice angle, hitting the line 4 and going up about the same distance that we went over here to get a similar angle. So we have now these different angles. Now I'm going to place it back on the center line. So I'm going to be drawing down to this line, and I'm going to keep a similar width of those shoulders, and I'm going to be drawing up to this line here. We're going to slide this up and angle it to hit that line a little bit closer on that line here. And this side, we're going to angle it a little bit more so that it hits the upper line here. So you can see we've already got a slight bit of shaping and movement in there. We're going to go back to our center line and make sure those head height lines are matching up. From here, we're going to work our way down to our waist. And at this point, I do want to draw the waistline. The waistline is going to be hitting slightly above the 3rd line. So we're elongating that waist just a little bit. And I'm going to draw a parallel line to my angle up here, indicating that waist. So from the center line, because this gets a little bit more shaped, I want to slide the waist. I want to slide this up so the waist is hitting that line. And I want to come in a slight bit from that waistline. Now I'm going to angle it down to get the other waist side, and I'm going to come out a slight bit on that side. Okay, we're going to go back to the original line. Center line, all of the heads are aligned again, and we're going to use this armhole position that we have, and we're going to go to our waist, our new waist that we've marked. Now we're going to slide this back up. We're going to hit that hip higher up until the crotch aligns here, and we are going to bump this out until it hits close to our shoulder area here. And then over here, we're going to bump it in. Then we're going to do a nice curve, giving it a nice smoothness to that. You can actually pull this away so you can see it better. And we're going to align these dot to dot. Okay, this is where the elongation really starts now. Our knee is going to go almost a whole head lower. It's going to go between the 6 and the 7. So we're going to slide this up until the knee hits that line. So we are now having the knee between line 6 and 7. And we're going to slide the paper over so that left knee is hitting right close to that center line, because she's going to be doing a walk, which means we need to get her balance closer to the center line to do the catwalk. We're going to hit the other knee, kind of going behind to the side. And some people put this slightly lower on the hip that's tilted downward. So we definitely could put it a slight bit lower. And she's going to have her leg kicking up a little bit as if she's walking. So we have two legs that are really close together. We're getting close to that center line. We're going to be crossing to that center line down here at the ankle. And we're going to align the ankle now. And the center line here is going to go almost to the center of the angle. And I'm going to elongate those feet just a little bit to hit the new 9 head length. All right, so we're getting closer. We can see it's shaping up nicely. All right, so now I need to connect the lines again. I am going to go ahead and draw in that crotch position. I'm also going to draw in the belly button and give a couple of lines for the bust. Now you can utilize the legs underneath to connect the lines, or you can just simply draw them in too, whatever's easiest for you. Then we're going to continue at marking from the knee to the ankle, and you can utilize the shape on the underneath leg if you'd like. Now we are going to kick up the back leg. So for this one, we're going to shorten up her other foot because it's in the background here. And we're going to utilize the 8 and have a slight angle toward it. Okay, so we can see the proportion here is a little bit further out here than over here. The arm is going to be coming down to the side and behind the body. So now we can utilize the arms if we want as a starting point, and the elbows usually go near the waist area. Then over here, we can have her arm kind of straight out or slightly bent. This one, again, trying to reach that line of the waist. So this is my flat croquis for flat garment sketches, and this is my fashion illustration croquis. So we are at 7.5 heads, and here we're at 9 heads. And this is our plus size curvy woman croquis using the flat garment sketch and turning it into a fashion illustration croquis with the walking movement. Now I will go ahead and trace this onto a fresh piece of paper with marker so that I can utilize it many times. Can also just make a photocopy of it and then go on the outlines with marker as well. That definitely works, and it goes a little bit quicker. Congratulations, you have just made your fashion illustration croquis, and you can start using it with the fashion design book, referencing all of those silhouettes and design details as you go along. You can also utilize the same exact procedure in making other poses. Just study the pose. If it's in a magazine or online, draw those lines with the hip angle and the shoulder angle and visualize it to see where those positions are. Tilt the hips out, tilt them in, same thing with the shoulders, and this is exactly how you make any pose, by studying those different parts. If you've downloaded the croquis from today and done the steps that we've talked about, let me know by liking this video or commenting below. In case you don't have the fashion design book, you can find it on Amazon and most online book retail stores. It includes an entire library of silhouettes and fashion details so that you can design the clothes of your dreams. There is a standard and a curvy edition, so make sure you choose the one that's right for you. I'm Gina Renee, and I teach online pattern making and design courses so that you can design and sew clothes you love that fit. Thank you so much for tuning in with me today. I'll see you in the next one.